Closed captioning provided by the Bibber family at Bibber Memorial Chapel.
You know, the parts $30
And then they're gonna charge you.
I just want some clarification.
Yeah, it's a pretty good skill. I look at, you know,
no doubt.
I'm fortunate because one of my best friends is
A
an
little
master
more
mechanic.
clarification.
So he teaches at SMC. So as long as I can drive it up there, we put it on a lift and have everything.
Some of the things,
So there's,
this way could come in next. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Absolutely.
Because I've done some research.
and I was like, you gotta get it, cause he was like, oh, you need to get it inside, I was like, get it inside.
Does it run? What's wrong with it?
Propane
It's,
company.
he says it breaks now.
They said you could
that-
put it
that
around,
the transmission
you
has been
can't put it
giving
within
problems.
10 years of the motor. So that's a no-go there.
There were no problems.
Well,
I think
did
a lot of
he?
this,
When I get it back,
That we did the sidewalk.
we would have to be.
it's
International
So I just want clarification.
We couldn't take them.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, good point, yeah. Nice. I'll definitely stop in and check it out when she's up and running.
It looks good.
Nice.
All right, good evening. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, February 3rd Planning Board. I'd like everyone to raise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Introduction of board members. Today we have, straight ahead of me, we have Paul Amatucci. To my left, front left, we have Phil Roy, then Jerry, and then Dave Andreessen. And then via Zoom, we have Amber Fecto. We have Jen, our code enforcement officer, Tammy, our town planner, and Lee J from SMPDC. Okay, so now moving on to the public comment.
Oh, is this public comment to Great Falls?
No.
No?
No, it's for anything that's not on our agenda for today. All right, seeing how no one's coming for that, we're going to close that and go to the approval of minutes for the January 20th, 2022 meeting.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? No? Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote, and we're going to start with Amber.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, then we have Paul.
Yes.
Then we have, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, then we have Jerry
Yes.
and Dave,
Yes.
and me is yes. Okay, so that's yes. Next is the public hearing. Site plan review, 20 Sullivan Street, tax map U004, lot 146, VC and SCI zone in the Village Overlay District, Great Falls Construction. Gonna open up the public hearing.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
He does have some design work with him, so if he, ask him to grab the podium, the microphone if he leaves the podium.
I just have something quick to bring up. John Smith is not here yet, and I don't know if it might be beneficial if the next item comes up and presents first, just to give John maybe a little bit more time to get here, because with the public comment, it would be beneficial for him possibly to respond to some of the comments that we hear.
So in the public hearing, it's just going to be, anyone's going to be saying their comments, and then in the old business is when we'll be addressing those issues. But if you could just state your name, so we have that on.
My name is Craig Burgess. I work with Sebago Technics in South Portland, Maine. I'm here tonight representing Great Falls Construction. Julie Smith with Great Falls is here with me, and John and Cindy Smith will be coming shortly. It's a very exciting project to be working on here in Berwick, and we understand how important it is for the town. The project will be known as the Edge at Berwin. It will include 11 brand new buildings that will be 2 to 4 stories high. It also includes the renovation of what we're calling the L-shaped building here in the southwesterly corner of the site. A brand new Main Street will extend east to west through the site, and another roadway to be known as Edgeway will extend south from Wilson Street here to its intersection with Main Street. There is another drive aisle that will extend south from Main Street on the easterly side of the site to serve a brand new coffee shop and a brand new bank. Both the coffee shop and the bank will have separate curb cuts onto School Street. Overall, there'll be approximately 297 parking spaces with this development. And there will be just about 260 residential apartment units. Those apartment units will be studio, 1 bedroom, and 2 bedroom. As you can see with this concept here, the buildings will be constructed very close to the roadways, both the existing and the proposed roadways. And that's really to maintain Berwick's downtown character and as required in the Village Overlay District standards. So we've worked hard to meet all the different standards of the Village Overlay, a very comprehensive zone with standards, and we understand that this project has been a long time coming, and there's been a lot of thought put into that ordinance and how this project would look one day. So Great Falls has worked really hard working with Sebago Technics to help develop that vision that Berwick wants. I understand that there's been numerous public outreach meetings, and we've listened to the town's comments. So, and we hope that what they're seeing here tonight is everything that they wanted. The buildings will contain commercial units on the first floor. There'll be over 30 commercial units proposed at this time. That number fluctuates, but there'll be over 30 commercial units on the first floor. Residential will be on the second, third, and then the fourth floor. The utilities, this project works out great with the utilities. You have public utilities both on Sullivan and School Street, so we'll be tapping into both the water and the sanitary sewer on both of those streets. And we're doing that in an effort to really try to minimize the amount of trench work and then overall excavation on this project. As everyone knows, that this project, it's been looked at from an environmental level, and it qualifies for Maine DEP's VRAP program for the protection of the soils. There are some contaminated soils, so we've worked hard in designing this project to really minimize the amount of earthwork so that contaminated soils aren't, we don't have to haul too much of that off the site. And we're working with Credeer engineers on that. We've submitted a Maine DEP site location and development permit for this. That's the highest level of a land development permit at Maine DEP. We've addressed the geology comments, and we're still waiting for engineering comments. But we think that that will be coming soon because we anticipate approvals of the site law permit sometime in March. That's DEP's statutory deadline. DEP has 6 months to review this, so we anticipate approvals on this project in March. Another permit that was submitted is the Maine Department of Transportation Traffic Movement Permit, otherwise known as TMP. We just had a meeting with Maine DOT to discuss the site. That's really the first step of the process. And we ultimately anticipate approval sometime in June. At this time, it's not 100% certain what any off-site improvements will be that are related to the site. But at a minimum, you can see that Main Street is directly across Eleanor Street. And right now, there's a raised island in that area. So at a minimum, we anticipate that there will be some improvements there. The project exceeds the open space requirement in the form of the various landscape areas throughout the site, as well as the widened sidewalks and patio areas for the public's enjoyment. With that said, that's about all I have right now. But the team at Great Falls and I are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. Last time when we were talking, you had discussed underground electric as opposed to poles, and I was just wondering where that was in the development stage. I know that you were going to go back and look at that and see what was feasible and what was not.
Yeah, we're still working with.
We can discuss this in old business.
Okay.
It's one of those things for old business.
Is that it for now? You want? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll go.
Great. Thank you.
Now, anyone from the town have any other questions or comments? Just come on up, state your name, and then just state your comment, and they'll get to it in old business.
My name is Dennis Dupree. I'm co-owner of Devin Duke Monogrammers. I've had a business in town for 30 years, and before that I worked 20 years at General Electric. I'm looking for clarification on a few things. I've done some research this week, and I'm talking about the L-shaped building, back street behind Subway, Devin Duke's, Ben's Place, and then Spencer Matthews. Over the years, to get businesses into different situations, the town was able to do things to get businesses open. We now know that the tanks behind the tattoo place are in the road. We do know that, from the looks of it, the dumpster at Subway's in the road. So I'm looking for clarification. Instead of being here tonight, I was wondering why we weren't approached by maybe the town engineer or something like that to say, these are the things that are coming at you, situations, which are all good. I think this is great. Good situations to alleviate. You might possibly lose some parking where the tenants and the Subway people park in the alley, maybe, I'm not sure. I did reach out to Great Falls during the walkabout and they had with the town, and they were great. I mean, they came up and talked to James, and I talked to Great Falls, and they added some spots that, you know, aren't going to infringe on taking away open space. That is now on the plan, which is phenomenal. So I guess the clarification is, what do we have coming at us? So as I listen to this stuff, and these are possibilities, these might not happen, but nobody came to me and said, there's a possibility that the power lines might go underground, but between the town and us, we're responsible to get the trench dug to your building, but you might have to jackhammer through your sidewalk, that's the flat ramp that goes in the back of the building, and then have your box rewired. So that might be your responsibility. Or there are funds available for that, it might not cost you anything. I guess the cat's out in front of the horse on this stuff, on this particular spot, because the way I read it, in my opinion, is I've been to the departments, and they've been great. You can go in there and get all the information you want, what they know, and they're willing to work with anybody. I've never had a problem with our departments, any of them. But it's like, it's almost like, let's wait and see what they're willing to do. Well, I don't think that's right, myself. Usually when you go into the bigger cities and you have an engineer or anything like that, all of this stuff is ironed out before. You don't want to come back over the next 5 years in nickel and dime, nickel and dime, nickel and dime. We should have somebody working with us businesses downtown to say, this is what it's going to look like. They've got all the plans you want to see. They've got 35 pages of plans. But we should have had somebody come forward and say, hey, you business owners down here, this is the possibilities. What can you add to it? What do you think we should take away from it? And how do you think it'll work for everybody? We've all done that. If I've got a problem with Mr. Long and everything like that, we sit down and we figure it out and we make it work. And it's worked with any of the businesses down here. So those are just my thoughts. I'm looking for a little clarification on, let's see if we can get in front of things instead of be behind things. Because this is your downtown, the 4 buildings, and now you're going to welcome in all these other buildings, which is going to be phenomenal. But we shouldn't be going at it with the carts out and the horses in the barn. This is my opinion on all the information that I gathered. So I've worked with projects with Great Falls, adding parking. They're open. I've emailed Julie, gotten maps. They're open to talk. The town has been great. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Do we ask questions of them, or do we ask them of you, or how's it?
So you state your name, and then if you have any questions for them, they'll, you just state it, and then in old business, we'll get to it.
Okay, my name's Ron Long, live here in Berwick, up on Pine Hill with my beautiful wife Noreen. We own 10 Sullivan Street where the Subway restaurant is. First of all, heard a lot about John and Cindy. I don't know them personally, I know who they are. They do wonderful projects, and I think they're gonna do a wonderful job here in Berwick. I've dealt with Julie, she's been nothing but fantastic. My concerns would just be to protect the grandfathered parking spots for my building that's been there. When did you buy that building?
I don't know, but parking's been there since 1950.
So protect those 4 parking spots, which the town maybe buys signs for and stuff, and to protect where the dumpster would be for Subway. And then if there's any underground utilities, am I gonna have to bear those costs? But John, welcome. I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Just to clarify, the street that they're talking about behind their building is actually a town road. What is it, First Street? Back Street? Yeah, that's actually a town road that we know is getting encroached by some of the services to that building, but just to clarify what they're talking about.
May I add one more thing?
Yep, come on up. You gotta speak to the mic, because everyone else can't hear you.
So, in reference to that, Dave, I guess I'm speaking out like I would have thought, like I'm the engineer, but I'm not. I'm just letting it publicly know, after Ben doing his research on the building, the tanks cannot, the in-ground tank cannot go into the ground 10 feet within the building. So, and he was supposed to be on Zoom, I'm not sure if he's there or not, but I did get permission to talk about it. So is there a way we get a deeded right away to work with the town and drop it directly across with the help of Great Falls underground and bury a line so we can now get rid of that mess? Do we work to see if, because I see where their dumpster is, I see they're gonna need a grease pit for the restaurant, so do we get a bigger dumpster and 3 facilities use it instead of having 4? I mean, there's nothing uglier than Mr. Pepin fixing up his apartment up here and having a dumpster and next to the marijuana store and having a dumpster in the street. They don't want that, we don't want that. They're gonna make it look classy by the rules and regulations. But how do we work together to do that? So between the town and Great Falls and all of us, how can we make that happen, And it works out. So that's the clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Just one more thing. I don't know any of the legal stuff with propane tanks or anything. But if this gentleman needs to put his propane tanks behind my building on the concrete pad, I've talked to my wife, as long as he's gonna have liability insurance, as long as it's legal and it fits the project, we'd be more than happy to help out.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Cyrus Morgan. I have some questions about the parking, specifically the number of spots. If you're going to have 297 parking spots with 260 residential units and 30 commercial units, that's 1 parking spot per unit. Where's everybody else supposed to park? And one of those questions was, I don't see the Wilson Street parking lot being any part of this discussion, and I'm wondering why it's not. I mean, why aren't, there's probably 100 spots there, 120 spots that could go there. Why isn't that part of the discussion here? Because my concern is, I look at this, I understand during the day, hopefully most of the residents are going to be gone. So anybody that shops or works during the day, there should be plenty of parking. But at night, when everybody's home, and all these people that now have businesses in the edge, they have stuff that's open late, a restaurant, the market, the fitness center, anything like that. If I come down to go out to dinner or anything like that, if I have to drive around and can't find a spot, I'm not parking far away and walking. I'm going to Dover where there's plenty of parking, or Somersworth where there's plenty of parking. You know, and that, I guess that is my biggest concern, that and with the weather, where are these people going to put their cars, you know, when we get a parking ban? Because they're going to have to park on, there's what, about 80 to 100 public spaces, if you include the town hall parking that are public. Those are probably going to end up getting filled. I mean, any one of those apartments that has 2 adults in it is going to have 2 vehicles. I mean, we're a car community, we're a car country. And where are they going to put them all? I have serious concerns about that. And really, you know, part of the whole idea is we're supposed to make this downtown viable. And traffic on Sunday afternoons is already terrible. I mean, you go, in the summertime, you go all the back ways because all the traffic gets trying to get around the York Toll. So I guess that's, my big question is, where's everybody going to park? When you have 297 spots. I mean, everybody got excited because we put 11 more in with 290 units. I don't see the math working. So I'm wondering what your solution is to that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, I'm going to close that public hearing. And now we're going to open up a new one for conditional use. Tina Allen, AKA Enzo Benzo Specialty Donuts, tax map R71, lot 7A, 474 Portland Road.
Good evening. I am Tina Allen. I am here, as you said, for the conditional use approval for my site at 474 Portland Street. I've been very fortunate to work with a great bunch of people, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So I'm hoping that that's a good thing. We received the state of Maine's approval to issue license today. I got the business license taken care of. I believe what's left is we had the site walk earlier this evening. I believe what's left is a potential CO from codes and planning board approval. And if there's any other questions that anyone has for me, I'm open to hearing.
Okay, anyone on Zoom? No? Okay, well, since no one's here and no one's on Zoom, so we're going to close that public hearing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next on old business, site plan review, 20 Sullivan Street, tax map U004, lot 146, VC and SCI zone in the Village Overlay District, Great Falls Construction.
When you are, while he's setting up, when you start answering questions from the public hearing, can you just touch base on how many times they've explained the parking situation on public? Okay. Because actually there's meeting minutes that they can go back and watch that too.
Okay.
So is this now our opportunity to respond to those comments?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Hi, my name is John Smith with Great Falls. And here tonight with Cindy and Julie from Great Falls as well. So should I just go sort of down through the questions and respond? Is that the best way? So, excellent. So Dennis and Ron, thanks for those questions. I think a couple of things. Dennis, the first part of your questions, I think, were some of them related to us, possibly, some of them not, right?
No,
So I think the underground electric, what I just want to comment real quickly. We've had a meeting with CMP, with the town, and with some people that are on the, I think it's Dig a Hole Once committee that's trying to figure this out. So we've had that meeting. We've had some discussions. And I can't speak to when they're communicating with others, so that I think people are working on it, but I'm not really sure. At this point, we're waiting on CMP. Our stuff is submitted to CMP, albeit just recently, so it's not like we've been waiting for a long time. But we're waiting for the CMP field planner to come up with a plan for that. And we understand that the town is interested in putting the power underground, so we're trying to coordinate that on the stuff that we do. As far as the subway dumpster, and there's a couple of things that came up, and I think we're happy to discuss consolidation there if the space is tight and we have room to expand our enclosure and work together. We have situations like that in the village in Gorham, and we're happy to talk about that if that cleans up the area and it's something that makes sense. I think let's see, sorry, I gotta get to my notes here. I appreciate the offer on the propane, Ron. I do think that right now we're gonna go put some underground tanks in right near that dumpster enclosure. So I think we'll be all set, and if it changes, we'll definitely touch base with it. Then I think, so the parking, the other thing was the parking on Back Street. So we really that's not our property, so we really don't. I mean, I think that's something to discuss. I mean, I think we've had some discussions about a temporary situation as we come down that wall to rebuild it. It would, it'll be good to just have some room and safe to have some room. And I think Julie's been in discussions around the temporary situation there. But once that's done, it's really up to you and the town or whatever to decide what happens. I mean, it's not on our property, so we don't have much to say about that. And then I think, was that all, does that cover the questions that you guys had then? And then I think, was Silas? Silas, I'm sorry. So I thank you for the questions. I think we know, we spent a lot of time reviewing this, and we know that it feels like the right balance, although we recognize that it's tight. But you mentioned the Wilson Street lot, and that's one of our contingency plans, is the Wilson Street lot. It's currently used as an unofficial park and ride, and there's discussions ongoing about maybe formalizing a portion of that lot for that, and then the balance of it being improved for the parking to support the edge. So that's one plan that we have, and that piece it's a great piece of land, but we really do not intend to do anything with it until we know that things are functioning well, parking-wise. And we can have all the studies in the world, but one thing we're really aware of and believe in the shared parking concept, and it's important in a village setting to have that shared parking. But it's also important to have a contingency plan, and that's what the Wilson Street lot is. The other contingency plan is that this is a phased development, and our final phase, what we've been calling the rear quadrant, it's I think it's phase 6 in our phasing, is a building that has, do you remember how many units overall, Julie?
Residential?
In the rear quadrant?
For residential?
Yeah, residential.
Yeah, 96.
So there's 96 units, a large chunk of units on this last phase of the project. So as we move through the phases of the project,
if it becomes evident that we have a parking problem on our hands, then we're gonna have to adjust what we do with those 96 units, or what we do to figure out the parking problem. There's, it's a death knell to our project if we have a serious parking problem. People are gonna hate it, they're not gonna wanna be there, they're not gonna wanna come and visit the businesses there, so we're very aware of it. And I appreciate you bringing up the concern, but that's kind of, how we've been thinking about it along the way. And I think, does that answer the questions? Yeah, does that answer all the
your
questions?
question answered about the power?
Yeah, I had talked about you were going to investigate, and you mentioned you're investigating with CMP and about, buried cables as opposed to poles. So just what, you had anything further to tell us about that?
Well, I can tell you that our current proposed plan has our power coming in off Wilson Street, underground down the middle of the site, tying back in on School Street. Mm-hmm. And we, so we're underground that whole way with transformers located on the site in strategic areas to feed the buildings that we have there. That's the current draft that's in front of CMP to be, refined by them.
And will that affect the businesses that are already getting power off the poles?
That should have no impact. No impact.
Not
Can
that,
I just ask a question about, John, I think what we're getting to is in that corner.
You have to come up to the mic if you're gonna
speak.
It's just for the people on TV. And you can't ask, sorry, you can't ask questions right now. The public hearing's closed. Sorry. No, thank you. I'm new to this.
So I'm not sure. I suppose I can try and guess what he was going to ask.
I can map it out for you if you want. I know what he's going to ask you.
Good. Yeah.
Right? Is he going to ask the question you asked me, Dennis?
no, this was Ron asking a question.
Right, but is it the same question about the power you asked me?
Not during the public hearing.
On Back Street.
Okay.
So, can I?
All right, if you're gonna speak, you have to go up to the
But
microphone.
you can't ask questions, so I'm going to tell you what I think, and they'll tell you if it's correct, okay? So what happened was, quite a few years ago, they were asked to redo the power out there. So they had to put up a new transformer to power the restaurant, the salon because they had tanning, and the function hall, whatever, on the actual building, okay?
Yeah.
And so there is a certain way that they ran the power, which makes sense and it doesn't. Is that what you're gonna ask? Is that where you're going with that, Ron? Then I don't know what he's asking, so forget it. I was trying to help, but, okay. Forget it.
So he can ask a question? All right, so you can come up and speak and ask a question.
So John, in the
Excuse
corner.
me, Mr. Chair, Ron, before you say a word, you need to reopen the public hearing.
I need to reopen, okay,
Yeah.
well then,
That's easy enough.
okay. Well, then I'll have to reopen I reopen the public hearing, and we can have this question.
John, right now in the corner of that L-shaped building, there's a power pole right where you're, it's right here.
Okay, yeah.
Is that getting removed?
I think so. Is there anything going to it right now?
Yeah, so that feeds my building, it feeds Subway, and
Oh.
probably feeds some of the back of Dennis, and that's where all the utilities come into that building. So my question earlier was,
Yeah.
if that goes away and Central Main goes underground, am I gonna have to pay for new service again?
So yeah, I don't have an answer to that. That's news to me, so we'll have to.
Craig does.
Craig does, okay. Good.
If that pole is in fact feeding all those buildings, Central Main Power just won't let the power be cut. It's gonna have to be coordinated and there'll have to be provisions for the power to be maintained.
My question though, sir, is.
Okay, hold on. Like I said, if you're gonna ask a question, you gotta come up to the mic. I'm sorry, it's just for the people at home, because they can't hear you without the microphone.
If you wanna come back up and answer, my question is, right now there's a pole there. If it's gonna be gone, I just paid almost $2,000 to get the back of the building rewired. Am I gonna have to do that again if you remove the pole and put the stuff on the ground?
No, there'll be no cost to you with any change related to that.
That's all I wanted. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing now.
So I was talking about electricity real quick before John starts, if I may. There's, through the Fairpoint Communications, there's over 200 phone lines connected on site still. And so we aren't able to, as the E911 addressing officer, I'm not able to properly address any of that site until it's taken care of. We've tried to call, but we're not the owner of the site, so I will have to contact John, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith next week to talk further about that, because as the current owners, they're the ones that have to call and figure that all out.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We had another question that was emailed to us. It's not really about the, but it is, and that's about having a third-party review be completed before the planning board approval, so that other conditions the third party identifies can be included in the conditions. I mean, if
Did we, if I'm not mistaken, we put out some time ago a request from the town for any concerns, and I
Yeah.
don't believe that was addressed at that time. So
You'll need to check with Lee J on this.
I could be mistaken, but I think that ship has sailed. I could be mistaken.
We could still
Yeah,
get,
that would be a question for Lee J. I wasn't here at that time.
okay.
Lee
Good
J, are you
evening,
there?
everyone. I was not aware that there was any discussion early on about having a third-party engineer review. However, the way I'm looking at it right now, there was a third-party engineer, Valerie Jaguar, who works for Underwood Engineering, and she was actually reviewing the plans on behalf of the Sewer and Water District. So most of the public utilities have been addressed. She provided a fairly extensive punch list of issues for Sebago Technics and Great Falls to address as it relates to the sewer and water. The only other, other than the power issue, the only other major issue for the site is going to be stormwater through the grading of the site. And most of the stormwater on that site is going to be in an enclosed system. So the only real piece of concern would be making sure that the catch basins are at grades that the water will be able to get to them and flow through them. And in some cases, those are actually, even if you have a third-party engineer review the plans, that is going to end up being field adjustments as they're constructing. And as you'll see from my conditions, recommended conditions of approval to you, there will be a third-party inspector required to be on site during the placement of those types of infrastructure pieces, so that we do make sure that they get in efficiently and appropriately.
Okay. All right, well, that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if I could make a comment, but I think Craig wants to say something, but
Yep.
I would hope, I mean, there's certainly been a lot of review of the project to date. It's a big project, there's a lot to do, and, you know, we realized, I mean, we were working with, you know, with the full review of Lee J, and then the engineers that have spent a lot of time. We've got DEP and DOT approvals, a scrutiny on the project. You know, in our experience, if it goes out to third-party review, it will come back with a bunch of comments because they have to do their job, right? And some of them relevant, some of them preferences, and it really does extend the project. I think you know, our goal is to get it done well. As Lee J alluded to, we are going to have oversight on site of that infrastructure, of those infrastructure items. So for what it's worth, you know, we would be not in favor of a third-party review, and that we're happy to have you know, appropriate inspections at times on site, and people, you know, reviewing it as it's going in, and that's when really where the road meets the road, and really where it matters is when we're putting it in the ground. So just that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay. Dave?
So I appreciate what you're saying there about the third-party review. This is the biggest project that the town has undertaken the 20-plus years that I've lived here. And I know a lot of people, including myself, are hoping that it's going to get done properly, done the right way. And I know you guys' long history. I know the projects that you've done, and you've done phenomenal jobs before. That being said, they weren't done in Berwick, and I would really like to have some assurances by a third party. And I get it. You're going to have this guy who's going to come in there, guy or woman come in there with these long pages of stuff. And did you think about this? And most of the stuff you're going to be like, no, we're not doing that. And we would probably agree with you. But on the other hand, I think that it would be a prudent thing by having the town require a third-party review. I think that it would really be, this is the first big project that we're doing. And that building closed down, what, 2007? And we've been planning this since 2007. And nothing against your guys' business. I know that you guys do a fantastic job. I've been to your businesses before. I would like to see a third-party review.
Okay. Anyone else have any comment on the board?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
One issue, you had discussed future plans or provisions for that extended parking lot. Would you guys be willing or amenable to enter into a more formal agreement that space not be developed for anything other than parking, and put a time constraint on it, until such time the project is completed and a parking/traffic study is done? Because my fear is, it's all great. We're all gentlemen here, and gentlemen's agreements are what they are. But in the event that gets developed and then there's no provision for parking at a later date, I think that would be a huge issue. Would you guys be willing and amenable to enter into some type of a formal agreement where that does not get developed, let's say, I don't know, what is it, a year after project completion, so that an adequate, and we can get feedback from the town whether parking is adequate or not, and then at that date. I would just hate to see something get developed there, or that parcel gets sold off and we lose that contingency altogether. Is that even in the realm of possibilities?
Yeah, I wonder if we had a discussion the other day about that lot with the DOT park and ride team, with SMPDC and with the town, with James, the town manager. And we started to formulate a plan to improve that. I will say that we haven't, I was at the meeting and Jude was at the meeting. We haven't had a chance to really roundtable it with Cindy and the rest of the team, but the direction that it's headed is that is really just to formalize it and improve it as parking, and under I believe it's a lease. It's either a lease agreement or I don't know if it's a licensing agreement or whatever. But that's that's in the early stages right now. So that, I mean, if that and somehow, some way, that's certainly a possibility.
It just seems like a reasonable accommodation to appease the concern about the parking issue. And if parking's not an issue, then great, develop it for something else at a later date. But at least put a date on that, let it, whether it's a year or 18 months after project completion, that it is available for overflow parking as needed. And if it's not needed, then great. My fear is that if it gets developed for something else, we're going to miss the boat altogether.
Yeah. So I think that we will, we certainly can look at that. I would hope that could be, the formation of that agreement could be a condition of approval. And I think that I would suspect that if we ever did try to develop that, obviously we have to bring it through planning board, and it would be well known that there's a problem
right
there. And so there's a little bit of a check and balance that way in a sense. But
I think it's a good faith gesture to the townspeople too, and address obvious concerns about parking.
Yeah, happy to do that. I'd like to. I mean, I think if we're already in the works with that agreement, then I would hope that agreement could serve a dual role and
okay.
and cover that condition that you're talking about. And if that falls apart, then we can just have that, just simply write the condition that you're talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
Hold on. Jerry and Paul, I just kind of want to get your opinions on the third party.
I do third-party reviews every day in my business, so I can understand what Dave's saying, and we do it all the time to check out other engineers. I've already done one of yours, Poland High School. We did the commissioning up there on that with RFS Engineering, so I know where Dave's coming from. I know what the concern is.
So you would be for it, or would you be against it?
For what this project is to the town, going with what Dave said, I could be for a review.
Okay. And Paul?
Yeah, I'm on the other side. I'm with John on this. I think we have a developer here who has done nothing but bend over backwards to be totally forthcoming with us in every way. That every meeting that we have, every discussion that we have, it's not, well, this is how we're going to do it, so you're just going to have to suck it up and take it. This is a company that has come to us and said, tell us what you want, and we're going to do our very best to give it to you. I could see if they were difficult to deal with and we didn't like the plan as much as we thought we would like it, or there were other issues. But at this particular moment in time, I'm not for a third-party review.
Okay. Amber, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm not sure that it's entirely necessary with how forthcoming they've been throughout this process.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Dave, do you have anything else?
I do have something else. So how many apartments or residences do you expect to put in? Was that 180?
265 apartments.
265 apartments. And that number's gone up, hasn't it?
No.
Okay. 265, and then, let's say that there's 2 people that live there. Let's just say there's about additional 500 people a day coming and going in there, either crossing the bridge going into Somersworth or going down to South Berwick along 236. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people for this town to absorb. I mean, 500 cars a day, just think about, even 400 cars a day, additional. I used to drive down there every day. I know what it's like driving 236 all the way down to Portsmouth every day. Or I know what it's like hopping on the Spalding every day. That's a lot of that's a lot of cars, a lot of people. Why so many? Because of the apartments, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, when we studied it and sort of came up with, looked at the requirements and then what seemed to make sense, that's what we came up with. I think that's the short answer, really. I think that we do have 6 phases of the project, and that last phase has 96, was it? 96 units in it. So, for the first few years of this project as we're doing it, we're up until the last phase, we're at significantly less, right? So that last phase is a big bump in the end, right? And I think we've all said that we have kind of a placeholder in there for the last phase, and we have to be nimble and we have to adjust as we go. If we find issues, this is a very unique project in the sense that we are building this, but we're not building it and then bailing. We're building it and we're managing this and running this. And if we don't get it right, then it's a problem. So we have to adjust along the way and make sure we're getting it right. So I think, if it's evident along the way that that we have a problem, then we're gonna have to adjust. And I will, we are gonna have to come back, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% familiar with the process, but I'm pretty sure we have to come back to the planning board for every building that we do. So we're gonna, each one, we might be back with 2 or 3 at a time, like if we're doing these 3 right here, the coffee bank and whatever down here, we might try and bundle those because that's in a phase. But we will be back, and I think, there'll be opportunities to discuss those. If there's definitely problems, it'll be a discussion.
That road that's going to cut through School Street, that's going to be a town road? You're going to deed that to the town?
Main Street?
Yes.
That is not going to be a town road.
It's going to be private.
Okay.
They're going to maintain over.
Okay. You're going to maintain that with plows and the same lines? Okay.
Right.
Okay, that's my only concern. That's really my only concern, that this I feel like this whole project, even before you guys became involved, was we're probably going to have some commerce in Berwick and with a few apartments. Now, when I hear all these apartments, it's just kind of striking. So I guess I got to wrap my head around that a little bit more, because if you spend any time in downtown Berwick, you know what a small downtown this is. You know what it's like. It's 1 lane to get over the bridges, 1 lane to go off of 236. It's not a lot of room to absorb that many cars.
Yeah. I know the other thing that we did talk about, and I don't have the stats, but I don't know when Prime Tanning was running, I can't remember how many employees were there, but I think at times it was quite a bit more than what we're going to have on the site there. And the only real experience I can speak from is we did a project in Gorham that was same idea. It was in an area that didn't have something like this, and so there were big questions around it. And it basically has fit in with essentially zero impact. People, some people are retired, they don't go anywhere in the morning. Others are getting up and going early to work. Some go a little later to work. And so it really, is very little impact to the area. The traffic movement permit is all about studying what the traffic impact is from the proposed project. So there's a lot of effort at the level of the Department of Transportation analyzing and studying that.
Okay.
But our ace in the hole really is the phased nature of the project.
Yeah, I think so.
We're back here for phase 6, and there's a problem. My guess is you're not afraid of approving what we're proposing for phase 6, so.
Well, you know how those go. I mean, we know how those can go, but I guess I just have a hard time wrapping my head around this many people, additional people being downtown. Would I like it? Yeah, I'd love it, but I'm thinking about the ways in and out of town.
Right.
I'm thinking about the traffic at 3 to 4 to 5 o'clock at night when I'm coming home from work. I think it's going to be a lot. But thank you for answering those questions.
I think to address that too, you guys have a lot of skin in the game, at least as much as the town, financially, and it's going to be lucrative for you guys. But beyond that, we are taking something that has been an eyesore for a long time, and we've got somebody who's willing to come in here and make it, hopefully, the jewel of the town, something that's going to, bring some tax revenue, bring people in, and increase commerce. There's going to be growing pains, but I'm of the opinion it's a lot better than what's there now. It's definitely an improvement for the town. It's going to bring us some tax revenue and make it a town center. You guys have a lot of skin in the game, and I'm very appreciative of what you bring to the fight, and it's got to be lucrative for you guys. And I understand that's probably how you get to the numbers for how many residential units. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, it's a lot of different factors, kind of how we get there. But I will add that one factor that's very real is that village centers don't work without people living there. There's many examples
You're right.
of village centers that were loaded with commerce, and everybody has to drive in there. There's no people living in the area, so it's really important to have the residential component to it. And it is different, but it's definitely an important part to make it all work.
And just the last thing I'm going to say, I know that you guys you have more knowledge than I'll ever have in this, and I'm sure that you've thought about all these things. So, I mean, no disrespect in what I'm saying at all. I think that if you were me sitting here, you'd probably ask the same questions. But, no, I appreciate you answering them. Thank you.
Anyone else? Jen, Tammy?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Lee J?
Certainly, thank you. I'd also like to at least make you folks aware. I don't know how much the board's been aware of there are several moving parts here that really haven't been completely discussed. That, you know, when you talk about traffic and issues, since the very discussion, even before Great Falls got involved as the developer on this project, we knew that there were traffic issues with redevelopment of that area downtown. And it's been on our Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission's radar screen for a while through the Kittery Area Transportation Study, CAX, which is a federally funded program for Kittery, Elliott, and the Berwicks for transportation issues. And this project is now in the pipeline to reconstruct and address the intersections down at School and Sullivan Street. And Goral Palmer has been working, another engineering firm has been working on the designs for the CAX and the DOT on that. We had a coordinating meeting about a month ago, Craig. I'm going to ask Craig if he can jump in. But we've had a coordinating meeting on that redesign of that intersection to accommodate the traffic coming from Somersworth and whatnot. And I believe that construction is going to be in the 2023 pipeline, mostly funded through DOT. So that is being addressed as part of the traffic issues down there. The other part that Dave Andreessen was asking about with the number of units is another study that we've been involved with, again, completely separate from anything to do with Great Falls in this project. But there's a region-wide study called the Joint Land Use Study that is funded through the DOD because of the shipyard where, Dave, you will now be working. And with their proposed expansions going on down there, they've been looking for market rate housing for new employees to be able to live and commute, preferably with transit or rideshare situations. And the Berwick, the town of Berwick was one of the areas that's been involved in that study. So there's ongoing analysis of additional housing availability for new employees coming to the region, as well as rideshare opportunities that may come with that. So that's also, you know, an ongoing thing. I believe we're in phase 3 of that study, or the third part of that study. I personally am not involved in that. Our transportation folks are involved in that because of the rideshare component and added housing. So there's a number of moving parts going on here that are actually separate but involving Great Falls at this point in time that I'm not sure how much you folks have been briefed on.
Thank you. And do you have anything?
Nope.
No. Tammy, do you have anything?
Nope. The meeting with Maine DOT I was also on. Very, very good meeting.
Okay. Okay. So what are our actions now?
Jay?
Well, your action could be a couple of different things if you chose to do it. One would be you could approve with conditions. I provided you a list of conditions, although I think there was one discussed tonight that the board certainly might want to take into consideration. You could table to the next meeting in order for us to kind of fine tune those conditions so that you can come back with a final list, or you know, whatever there was discussion about third-party review. I don't know whether this board wants to take a formal poll to find out if you're going to want a third-party engineering review, and then if you do, I suppose it will be up to Tammy and I to engage in a third-party engineering firm that would take a look at all of that stuff. So I think there's a couple of things that you're going to want to talk about before you leave this issue tonight, and that's just deciding on the third-party review and then how you want to proceed with approvals.
Okay. So let's do a poll on the third-party review. So would we just do a roll call vote on that? Yeah, okay. So, Amber, you are our voting member today, so I will start with you.
I'm a no for that.
Okay. And Paul?
I'm a no.
Okay. Jerry?
No.
No. Dave?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. So you have our answers, and that is a no one. So moving forward is let's have the discussion on the conditions. Is there any more input on the conditions? Are we okay with the conditions?
Do we have that list?
So I was going to say, if you recall, it was in my memo that I provided to you for the last round, and there were 9 proposed conditions for the project. I can go through those if you'd like.
Yeah, if you don't mind. I'm missing the first 2 on my sheet, so.
Okay, let me take a crack at it here, and hopefully I won't lose my voice.
Okay.
First condition is, if the development plan changes and is being constructed out of the phasing sequence, then the owner of the development must come back to the planning board and seek an amendment to the phasing plan. That, and I'll just explain that simply, that they have provided the board with a phasing plan, and if they go, oh, wait a minute, phase 2 really isn't going to work right now, we'd rather go to phase 3, they're going to need to come back and ask the board to approve that phasing change.
Okay.
Number 2, if the architecture of a building is proposed to be different than that which is proposed in the approved plans, the property owner must come back to the planning board and present the revised architectural plan for the board's consideration and found to be consistent with the standards found in the Village Overlay District, section 6.4.2.6 of the zoning ordinance. Number 3, the applicant shall follow the inspection and enforcement procedures found in Article 10, section 10.1 A through G of the town's subdivision regulations. Number 4, the applicant shall hire a third-party civil engineer to be on site during the construction of the infrastructure to ensure all infrastructure is being put in meeting either appropriate engineering standards or town specifications if part of the town's standards. That really refers to the water and sewer district standards, which may be different than other standards. Number 5, due to the size and nature of the project, the developer and construction management team shall hold a pre-construction coordination meeting with the municipal staff, including the town manager, code enforcement, planner, water and sewer district staff, as well as fire and police 2 weeks prior to the start of construction. That's an ongoing coordination so that if any of the streets or whatnot need to be closed down, fire and police will know when that's happening and how they're going to be able to maneuver around that, as well as coordination with all the other staff on how the infrastructure and other pieces of work are going to come together. Number 6, the developer shall place a letter of credit with the town, naming the town as the recipient of the funds if a default should occur. This letter of credit shall be based on the phase being constructed at the time and shall be adjusted up or down based on the phase that the developer is working within at that time. Number 7, the phasing plan should include information pertaining to the construction of the infrastructure and associated costs. Number 8, the intersection of School and Wilson Street, which is currently signalized, may need to have intersection or signalization upgrades in the future. These improvements will need to be addressed by the applicant if the Maine DOT Traffic Movement Permit, TMP, indicates that improvements are required. And number 9, the project is conditioned on all information submitted written or orally provided to the planning board as part of their review process.
Okay.
That's what I have.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, would you be amenable to adding, or would the board be amenable to requiring an agreement on the parking as previously discussed? Not to develop that lot.
Okay. Lee J, would you have something about that?
I would need a minute or two to draft something, but it
Okay.
wouldn't take any longer than that.
Okay.
Also, on one of those issues, the letter of credit, could we also have, as an alternative to that, a bond, an insurance bond, that in the same amount, but through an insurance agent?
So when I say, did I actually say letter of credit? Because the intent is that they provide some sort of surety, which is within the town's ordinances anyway, that's acceptable to the town. So it doesn't have to be a letter of credit. It could be
a surety bond.
You know, a bond, a check, some sort of surety. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else to add? No? Okay. No. So with that, then the action would be to find this complete.
I'll make a motion that we take a vote.
I believe you already found the application complete at the last meeting. That's why you're holding the public hearing tonight.
Sorry.
May I, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair?
Tammy?
Because you have asked for an agreement to be added, my suggestion would be is you table it until Lee J gets back with the write-up for the agreement, so the Great Falls folks can take a look at it.
Okay.
And then they'll be on the agenda as soon as we get that back, hopefully for the 17th.
Is it possible?
So here's what I came up with for quick language for that.
Yeah, it's
I
not
worked
that
fast,
big.
Tim.
It's not a big deal.
The applicant entered into an agreement with the town to hold off on development of Phase 6 until 1 year after completion to assess the parking on site. Pretty straightforward.
I like it.
And how does that sound with you? That would, okay.
So what I can do is I will build that into the findings of fact as one of the conditions if you're agreeing to that.
Okay.
Minor point, but our agreement might be with the state as well on it, so, because the Department of Transportation is involved on the park and ride portion of it, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but. Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the project with the conditions as stated.
With the amended conditions?
With the amended conditions.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
All right, further discussion? No further discussion. Roll call, Amber?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Old business, conditional use. Tina Allen, AKA Enzo Benzo, Specialty Donuts, tax map R71, lot 7A, 474 Portland Road.
$280?
Sidewalk went well. You take it?
Yeah, sidewalk went well.
All right.
Oh, great. All good, too.
Yes, she is adding, she added her, here, hold on.
Because
To add the
they might
following.
have some people eating there. so
This is
they
the old
had to add that to the
place that was up there, right? On Route 4?
Yeah, it's a self-storage, right next to a self-storage.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. All right, where did I put that? Find a piece of paper. There we go.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Tammy.
You know, at the site walk, Tina did request to have an eat-in portion to her bakery, sweet store, non-marijuana place. We did put that on her business license because there were quite a few questions that came in about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So with the eat-in portion, the comment was made that if someone comes in with a child and purchases a dozen donuts or something sweet that they want to take home and the child wants to eat it, it is now an eat-in place. So
Yep.
hence,
Yep. We added that to there.
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't want to disappoint the kids.
Yep.
Well, I think also what it allows is that if down the road you want to put a table or two out there, that you don't have to come back and ask for permission for it, that it's already, and there's plenty of room out there.
Yeah, we have a lot of room, and for right now, as I told you folks, we want to manage the growth as best we can. So we're excited. The space is nice, and it's a nice space for us. So.
Okay, Jen?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you know that Tina's not able to get CO in her donut shop, even with your approval, until she has a hand wash sign in the bathroom, covered trash can in the bathroom, auto closed door in the bathroom, and replace carpets in her business with cleanable mats. And also, if the bathroom is going to be in an employee-only bathroom, which was stated during Tina and I's meeting when we met, she'll have to have a sign indicating that as well.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know that she won't be able to open even with your approval until these are met, and she does have CO for that building.
Okay. And then you would be giving her the CO after that?
That's all she needs.
Okay.
Okay. So I do have plans to actually get that rectified tomorrow. So I guess I would ask the board how best to communicate that back.
It would just be going back to calling Jen and scheduling a time with her, and then she would basically okay it after.
Okay.
Yep, and then you would be in business.
Good to go.
Yep.
There's seemingly easy fixes, and I actually have the extra signs. I wasn't sure because it was employees only if I needed it, but I do. So
Okay.
there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then actions today?
to approve with conditions?
Conditions.
Okay.
I'll move that we approve this application with the conditions as outlined by code enforcement.
I will second.
Okay, further discussion? Nope. Okay, roll call vote. Amber?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next in old business is findings of fact, Annie Cannon, AKA Revive Acupuncture and Wellness. So I guess the one question I have with that is for Jen, I guess, and that, was the deadlines okay?
So no.
Okay.
So the update is, they need to have the driveway constructed to 18 feet by April 30th.
April
Is the
30th.
change that you're gonna see. Everything else, we're allowing them to go to June 30th. If they're not able to meet their June 30th deadline for the rest of their punch list, we're gonna call it, they will have to come back to the board, and ask for an extension. There will be no extensions given on the April 30th deadline
driveway.
because that is a life safety issue. So they cannot get an extension.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So with this, the action is just approving the findings of fact?
Correct.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll get the vote put on the last page so that you can come in
And sign it.
and sign it next week so we can get it off to Ian.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion that we put the findings of fact.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, sound like Paul came to it first, so roll call vote. We got Amber.
Yes.
Okay, Paul.
Yes.
Jerry.
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So there we go. Okay, next old business is requested zoning amendments. All right, so we have quite a few coming in, so.
Can I go first?
Yep.
Great.
She's a disorderly building.
Disorderly building. Okay.
Jenny McCabe, Code Enforcement Officer, Town of Berwick. So I just wanted to give you a couple updates. I did talk to some townspeople about our disorderly building. We had said before it was just for multi-unit apartment buildings. This ordinance is going to go in front of the select board to state that it's all single-family homes, all multi-unit buildings, and all duplexes as well. So I just wanted to give you an update on that before you went ahead and approved it. Nothing else has really changed since.
Okay, so this is now going to cover
All buildings.
All buildings.
Yep.
Yep, and if you look at the top of the second page, it's kind of grayed out where it says, any number of units per building will be allowed 3 visits in 30 days.
I also want to remind the board that the numbers that are on page 3, under the offenses and the penalties, those numbers may not stick. And
Yeah, the select board will
I just want the
decide that.
townspeople to know that the select board will actually, that's just a guide of what we think it should be, but those could change.
Those are just suggestions right now.
That is
Yeah,
correct.
Until the select board, they have the final say over the
Yep.
penalties.
And on number 2 on that same page, they will also determine that fee as well.
Okay.
They can control numbers, we don't.
Right.
Okay.
This whole thing is just a list of suggestions.
Yes.
For the select-
Yes, yeah.
Correct.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we could vote in whatever we
And then they
would
amend
like,
it,
but they have the ability to
change whatever.
change whatever they want.
Basically, what you're doing is recommending the changes go forward to the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any questions about it for me? Cool.
Mhm.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. All right. And
We have some folks here to do the sign
Okay.
changes.
Yep.
Folks, you're up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us. If it is okay with you
you gotta,
folks.
sorry, if you could just state your name.
I'm sorry, I'm Jeremy Caston. I'm
Yep.
the chair of Envision Berwick.
Thank you.
I'm here with Cyrus Morgan. We are representing the Ace of Base, I saw the sign, subcommittee from Envision Berwick.
And Marie's on Zoom.
And Maria's on Zoom.
She's pointed
Here,
out.
yes. Last time we met, and we came to you, we presented some ideas. We've since worked with Tammy and Jen and James, revised it somewhat, gone back and forth, looked at some examples from nearby towns. I also want to mention that last time we met, I was a little bit fuzzy because it was at a touch of the COVID there. But if it's all right, I'd love to read. We put together like a short statement about sort of what we're trying to accomplish and where this came from Envision Berwick and why we set up the subcommittee. If I could read it to you. The physical appearance of our community is important. Will the future Berwick community appear attractive? Will it be interesting? Will it be unique? Sign regulations can have a significant impact on our community's appearance and are a straightforward way of encouraging economic growth. Sign regulation is one of the most powerful actions a community can take to make an immediate visible change in its physical environment. Properly drafted and enforced, sign regulation can reinforce the distinctive design quality of the entire community. A community's image and how it looks often corresponds with its economic vitality, and as a planned feature, a business sign can be colorful, decorative, distinguished. Often in towns without forethought and planning, Signs are misused, oversized, inappropriately lit, badly located, and numerous. In many cities, sign clutter dominates the landscape. Obviously, we live in a place, Maine, where we don't even have billboards. It's one of the reasons I moved here, so it's important. Overshadowing buildings and trees, eroding community identity, ruining scenic views, degrading historic ambience, and blighting neighborhoods. And when there is an overabundance of competing signs, the message of each is lost. A good sign is pro-business, since an attractive business district will attract more customers than an ugly one. Moreover, when signs are controlled, merchants do a better job of selling and at less cost. Studies on visual perception have shown that when the size and number of signs are reduced, the viewer actually sees more. Sign control is especially important to areas that seek to increase tourism and business, because the more one town comes to look like every other, the less reason there is to visit. On the other hand, the more a community does to enhance its unique assets, the more visitors it will likely attract. So our goal here is not to limit business, but to encourage business. And I want to be really clear about that, because that was from the get-go the mission of what we put together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
They can't put up real estate signs?
Are there any questions, comments?
Are you seeking a change to the current signage ordinance? Is that what I'm understanding?
We are.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there's a bunch
Okay.
of.
Okay.
Several.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any comments, Jen?
Nope, so we actually met, I don't know if you guys are aware, we actually met, we had a hour-long Zoom call over this in our language with our town manager. I think it looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks great. This would prohibit like those digital signs, right? With
Yes.
Various message and,
Yes.
Okay, great. No, this is well written, and I like this statement. Very well done, thanks.
Mr. Caston, can I get a copy of that so I can get it into the minutes, please?
Yes.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. I could not write as fast as you.
What's that?
I couldn't write as fast as you were going.
Yeah, of course.
So, are we voting to move this to the selectmen?
Not yet. We still got a couple more zoning amendments that we got to go through, and then we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick, before you move on, I do remember on our Zoom call, it was decided, you want to just separate back up for 1 second, that this was perfect language going forward to the, for the town vote.
Yep.
Okay, and to the select board, but it was decided that if this got voted in and we had like complaints on it, that they would revisit it, correct? We talked about that via Zoom. I just want to put that on the record.
Okay.
That's it.
Yes, the goal here is not to create hard and fast rules. That
Right.
we're building our downtown
Right.
as we speak, and not just our downtown, but a big and very important part of this is thinking about the areas outside of downtown. I think a lot of great minds are very focused on downtown, but we are concerned about all of Berwick and want to ensure that the reasons that we love it and that it is charming and that it is viable as a place where lots of businesses would find it attractive, that we don't kill that.
That's
But if we make adjustments now and we find that it's getting in the way, we see this as liquid. It should be something that we continue to finesse.
I just wanted the viewers at home to realize that it was not. Okay, that's all.
Dave?
But let's say 3 months into it, you realize that you need to redo what you put forward and what was voted on by the voters. It's got to go back out to a vote. Okay.
Yeah, but
You just can't come to the planning board or the
We'd
selectmen
have
and
to
say,
re-amend it, and then
You'd have
it'd
to amend
go
it,
through
yeah.
the planning, selectmen, and get
luckily at that
voted.
point we'll have had some experience, so it'll be a little easier too.
right, and we expect you, to be back and forth between the selectmen,
Jerry?
We talked the last time about signs that are currently up and grandfathered.
Yep.
That stays in place, correct?
Yes.
That is addressed in here. I did read that. Yep.
Yep.
Just so, well, not everybody has this. If there's somebody watching
Yep.
at home, just want everybody to be aware that signs that are there don't have to change and conform, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Unless they replace them.
Yes.
So that was discussed on Zoom too. So if they have a sign that is, doesn't meet our ordinance, and God forbid something happens to their sign or they go to replace, they will have to amend to the new
To the new one, right.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And once you opt to take and turn these over to the Board of Selectmen, there, you will need to schedule a public hearing for the 17th, so that if these, once you say they're okay to go forward, will go to the town website under public notices, just like all the other warrant information, so that should they have, anybody have questions, they can email, send a letter, come in, leave a phone call regarding some of the changes. If I need it in writing from them, I will request it in writing, simply because sometimes when you're trying to take a phone message, you may miss a key word. So hence, if I can get it in writing from anybody that might be listening, once they take a look at all of these ordinance changes that are gonna be coming forward, that way we can make sure we've got it right.
We'll have our public comment on
Yep.
that in the hearing, and
Yep,
then we can
exactly.
discuss it
Yep.
after. Yep. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
See you soon.
And then we have some subdivision regulations amendments.
Thank you. I wish they canceled my work tomorrow.
No chance.
All right, so subdivision regulations, there's a couple amendments on that. The access width is changing from 20 feet to 24 feet and 26 feet from 24 feet with a preferred width of 24 feet.
That request came from the fire chief. So he met with me, and he's gotten bigger equipment, and hence if you have a 2-lane road, trying to get them through a very small lane of traffic, he doesn't want to damage anybody's car in the process.
Okay. All right.
This is for new construction, or are we going to have to?
New construction.
This is for new construction.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
The vote won't happen until June,
Okay.
and until the
Anything up
warrant is
until that.
certified, it can't take effect.
Okay, understood.
Okay, so next is definitions. We have a few. Subdivision is getting striked out and is going to be C30-A MRSA 4401.
And that came from Lee J.
Okay.
He said, we might want to do it, and I said, while we're doing it, we might as well put it in there.
Okay. There's that. Marijuana cooperatives. So with the at-home business, it allows 2 licenses of any business at a house. This would only allow a second caregiver to operate at a house. The only strike is taking out the 2 and making it 3 or more medical marijuana or 2 adult use cultivators claiming a location as a primary residence in order to conduct marijuana home production. Marijuana cooperatives are considered adult use marijuana production facilities, and if marijuana is grown by an adult use cultivator, and considered a marijuana production facility if it is grown by a medical marijuana caregiver under the Berwick land use.
And that is to protect husband and wife.
Yes. Or
You might-
spouses.
Spouses, you might want to put that on record, just
Yes.
clarify that.
That would allow, that would protect.
Spouses to be able to grow and, yeah.
Any discussion on that?
So 2 people from different, that are not spouses, can't do this? It's only for spouses?
What a co-op is, through the OMP is, or it's not considered that through the OMP, it's through our Berwick land use ordinance. If me and my husband were growing medical marijuana and we had a home occ business license, we could both grow under that business license. As of now, it can't happen under our land use. That's why they're changing it, because we're trying to realign ourselves with the rules of OMP, which is the Office of Marijuana Policy.
And
Just so everyone
they
at home
allow
knows.
spouses or other people that live there together.
But they have to live there.
They have to
do
claim
have to- they have to
residency
have
together.
residency there.
Cohabitants.
So, yes.
So the residency requirement would not change?
No, that would not change. All right. And now, land use standards, the minimum lot standards from shoreline setback from wetlands and streams. They want to go from 100 to 75.
What's the rationale for reducing it?
Oh, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
No. When you come up, you can make that comment. Sorry.
Okay. The shoreline setbacks?
Yes, on the shoreline setbacks, you've got the documents that were submitted, and the people are requesting that we go to the state guidelines, which are the 75 feet to the setback from wetlands and streams. And then if you flip the page, you'll see under principal and accessory structures, it's going to go from 100 feet to 75 feet. Our shoreline setback from river and great ponds agrees with the state. It's just this piece from the wetlands and streams that they would like to have changed.
Okay.
Who's they? Who wants to change?
In your documents, it's 420 Portland Street LLC.
Okay. Oh, got it. Right.
Portland Street LLC. What kind of business is that? Is that a private residence or is
No,
that?
that's a commercial business.
Is it?
Yeah, they're before us right now doing site plan review. They did their initial one with Jen and I and had some changes that needed to be made. But she had thought of this, she had approached us before on this.
Yeah,
And
she
it's
had-
only
She had
in-
issues before with licensing with
Yeah.
the setback regulations.
Yeah, and it's for just the three, she's got 3 zones on there. SP, RP, and LR. The SCI will still stay at 25.
Okay. And any discussions on this?
Is there any other way to handle this other than doing this? In other words, can they come to the planning board and ask for a variance of some sort? Or
Not with shoreline.
Not with shoreline? Okay.
Shoreline is very strict with the state of Maine. A town can make it stricter, but they can't make it more lenient. And by your changing it from your ordinance, you would be making it more lenient. They would give them a closer.
So this is to allow development 25 feet closer to a waterway.
But only on streams and wetlands. The first thing the person will have to do is go to the state to find out what stream or wetland that they want to take and get closer to, how it is listed with them. They have a master list of all the streams and wetlands for hopefully the whole state of Maine.
Does Army Corps get a chop on that too, or no?
Not usually,
Not
not
usually,
for
okay.
something like this. It's
Okay.
Maine DEP that, because if this should pass, you send it on, and if it passes on the warrant, within 30 days, Jen has to get it up to Maine DEP.
Okay.
That is a requirement that anytime you change or amend any of the shoreline ordinance. So if Maine DEP does not like it, it gets shot down by them and they're back. We have to revise it again. But their requirement right now is 75 feet as opposed to 100.
Is there a national standard, or do they allow every state to set their own?
That I don't know.
You don't know? I would like that answer.
Yeah,
What is the national standard? And my gut, served 24 years in the Coast Guard. I know Dave's got 20 plus years in the Coast Guard. When it goes bad near a waterway, it goes really bad. And I would personally have a hard time making it less restrictive as it comes to waterway management, personally. And that's based on my years of experience in the Coast Guard and having to respond to issues. And I know we've spent a ton of time and money getting just the Salmon Falls River cleaned up and other, inland waterways. Why would we make it less restrictive? That's my gut feeling, and I would welcome any other discussion.
Well, on a counter side of that, you would think the state would already know that. So when they set theirs at 75 feet.
Right.
How long have we had it set for 100? You probably don't know that.
Do you know when the shoreline ordinance went in?
I'm not sure exactly. It's been a long time.
It's been a
Long
while.
before us.
Yeah, long before us, and it hasn't really changed
No.
much.
And it hasn't really been a problem much.
Right.
But I can find out what the national is for you too.
I think we need to do a little more homework.
Just as a more, global look at this issue is, I hate to change a town ordinance for one person.
Well, it
So
would
we're
change
doing
it
it
for
this-
everybody.
But it will change for everybody, but we're doing it because this particular business finds it restrictive to them.
Now, when
Have
these.
we had a lot of issues with this, with other people saying, wow, that shoreline?
Yeah, his
I agree with you.
That's really a problem.
The answer,
Yeah.
Paul, the answer is no.
Okay.
We have not.
Yeah,
had
the
a lot of
people that,
issues.
Yeah.
the people that have come in with their plans and what they want to do, they haven't even questioned the setback because they know how difficult it is to try and change it.
Yeah.
And when you have to go to Maine DEP to get it approved and
Yep.
all of that, they just didn't want to have to deal with it. But this was a suggestion made.
Yep.
And it will
So-
ultimately be up to the town voters to see whether or not, they may not want to take and change the setback.
Well, we can take a poll right now and see if we want it to go any further.
Yep, you
Is that
sure
correct?
can,
Yeah.
or I can get the information from the national standard for the setback.
Okay, so should we?
You don't have to move them back tonight. You've got to have your public
We have a
hearing.
very, very slim amount of time to get this to the selectmen.
2 weeks.
Right.
A sense of the board, kind of,
I think we should do a poll
Yep, I
and
think
see if
so.
it should move. And yep, I think we should do a poll. Amber, I'll start with you. Do you think we should change it? That's going to be the question.
I don't think we should.
Okay. Paul?
no.
No. Jerry?
No.
Dave?
No.
And I am also a no. So I guess that's that.
Okay, I will take and pull this one. Not a
Okay.
problem.
Thank you. And now, that is the rest of the requested zoning amendments, correct?
Nope, well, you've got the one regarding the village overlay.
Oh, yep. Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't draw the nice neat picture that James did last year, and he didn't have a chance to show me how to do it. But before it goes before the Board of Selectmen, when you look at this picture right here, this part right here will be darkened so that everybody knows which section of the village overlay is going to be extended. And I will also be sending, if you decide to move this forward, once a public hearing is held, actually before the public hearing is held, I'm going to send the people on this street a letter stating they're being considered to be added to the village overlay district.
Okay. And then have we had anyone else come up saying that they wanted to be added?
No formal letters. We require it to be in writing, and we didn't receive any.
Okay.
We've had lots of people inquire and talk about it,
Yeah.
but none with formal letters.
Okay, yep, that's,
So when we look at this, there's a circle around one piece of property off School Street. Is that the person who brought this up?
Yes.
Okay.
And you technically can do just the one lot because the comp plan and your other documents state it would be okay that if you did, but it would be a smarter avenue with the edge at Berwick coming in to do that whole street right in there.
Yeah.
So that's why I left it as
Yeah.
the whole piece right there.
And you may have already discussed this. We did request comment from abutters that would be affected by this, or no?
Not yet,
Okay.
because if it doesn't go any further, I mean, you'll say, yes, we're gonna set the public hearing,
Right.
hence Monday, the letters go out.
Yeah. In the public hearing, that's when they'll have, the public will have
Right.
their comments and discussions.
Is all members of the board, are you guys clear on what the village overlay brings to a property?
No.
Would you like to be educated?
Yeah.
In the village overlay, density goes away. So any buildings that you bring into the village overlay can then put several apartments in there without having to meet the dimensional requirement criteria.
So each of those parcels could become multi-unit, is what I'm hearing you say?
Yes.
Yes.
They still have to meet setbacks and things like that, but if they have one house, if they have a house and wanna put an apartment in, they could still do that.
There are no setbacks considered in the village overlay district.
Really?
Yep.
Sorry. That was news to me. I thought there was still minimum setbacks.
You're learning, we're teaching.
So it is within our purview to approve just the one for the person that's requesting it?
Yes.
Yes.
I think, to me, that sounds like easy street, because we're not upsetting anybody else by, but are we setting a bad precedent? That's my only concern.
Yeah. So we've done this quite frequent. It usually happens, I think I've done this will probably be my third time we've done this. And this is quite frequent.
Okay.
It's ever-changing. Every year, someone else wants to be added in. We usually try and pile a few in at a time if we can. Yeah, it seemed, this is pretty regulatory, normal. One is okay, but we'd love to get a couple more to get them in and out at the same time. We only get one shot a year, basically, to do this. So right now is that time. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, those are the only ordinance changes I've got, so
Okay.
these are the ones that will go before the public hearing.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Without the shoreline one.
Yep. All right, so new business, assignment of planning board approval of solar project from NESG on Sophie's Way to me, Berwick, Sophie's Way LLC.
Good evening. I assume that was my cue.
Sebago Technics is here.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Owens McCullough. I'm a civil engineer with Sebago Technics here tonight on behalf of Main 1 Sophie's Way. With me tonight is, out here in the virtual world, is Tiffany Chase, Wave Hi Tiffany.
Hello.
And Kathleen Lively, both are from Aspen Power Park.
Hi, everyone.
Our request tonight is pretty straightforward, I think. We're really here to assign the August 5th approval that you folks granted back in August from NESG, which was New England Solar Garden, Berwick, Sophie's Way, to Main 1, Berwick, Sophie's Way, LLC. NESG and Aspen are co-developers of the project, and they formed the Main 1 Berwick Sophie's Way LLC. And we simply like to recognize that with the name change for the LLC. There's no changes to the plan, no other changes to anything else associated with it. It's just the name change to recognize the co-development between the two of them. And that's what the request is. Kathleen or Tiffany, anything to add to that?
Nope, it's just a simple assignment.
And I do have, Owens, I have already received the originals on these documents. So the originals, if you make the motion to approve it, the minutes and the original document will go into that Sophie's Way LLC for future reference, and it will also go to the tax assessor to change the name on it.
So I have a question. Are the principals of this project still the same people, or have those changed as well?
I probably leave that. Yeah, sure. NESG originated the project, and they are still co-developing. And then Aspen Power Partners is the new entity owner, but it's being put into the project company name of the LLC. Aspen is the parent company now, but both developers are involved for co-developing the project.
Yeah, the purpose of my question is just to ask, you know, when we had this presented to us, we had it presented by certain people.
Yes, I was there.
Who we had I remember you.
Yes.
Who had a comfort, we had a comfort level with, and and that's part of the reason we vote yay or nay is, you know, not only on the project itself, but also our comfort level with the people. So, so that's my question. Are the people that we, like yourself, who were involved, still involved?
Yes, I'm still involved, and I was at the site visit, and I gave my phone number and email address to all the nearby residents, and so they still have all that information. I'm the daily contact for this project, so I'm still involved. Michael, who did the presentation for NESG for the engineering, that portion of it, he's left to go to another company. But I'm still the day-to-day contact on this project, so I'm still involved. It's still going forward as we had it engineered.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion, comments? Okay, so actions would just be approving the assignment change?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the assignment change.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call. Amber?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I'm a yes too. So, here we go. Next into new business is waiver.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is waiver request form.
Okay. This waiver request form, with your permission and approval of it, should you need any changes, not a problem. I have it on the computer. It is something that I have used, and Lee J has said, yes, go for it. So when a subdivision comes in and wants to request a waiver or site plan, land use, they fill it out on this form completely and justify why they want to do it. This way, it becomes a part of the official record. If they put more than one waiver on a page, it gets sent back and it says right at the top, it has to be on separate documents.
Nice.
Some people get wordy with them, and you can't make heads or tails about which one is being changed for what reason.
Yep.
So hence, this will go with all the applications for site plan, land use, subdivision. Conditional uses could possibly use this, depending on what they wanted to have waived.
Okay.
It's not usually hard to meet all the conditional use pieces. So,
I mean, I think having that would be nice, because then it's, like you said, it's more documentation and the reasoning why they need a waiver. So.
yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's long overdue.
Yep.
Agree.
Okay.
So do you want to make a motion to have it added, or approve it, or?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. How about that? I'll make a motion to have it added.
I'll second.
Okay. Further discussion? Amber?
Yes.
Yes. Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so moving on is our second public comment. It's open up to Berwick
Nope.
residents.
Oh, yes, sorry. No.
As long as it's
He-
not anything about
It's
the
an
Great
informational
Falls.
for him.
If there's anything that was on,
So,
you gotta, yep.
Yep, yes, sir.
We just can't talk about any,
so I can't talk to you about possible parking in the future?
nope, not over there, not yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I would love to hear about this, but not here.
Yep.
I'll stop over.
It's really good.
I'll stop over sometime, Dennis.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about it, but
Yeah, it's really good.
okay.
It's just that they're not here to,
Right.
to represent
Actually,
themselves in
It was
it.
about,
You gotta, sorry,
I'm sorry, sir. It's about the Navy Yard parking.
yep, the Wilson Street, yeah, it's
So
still.
I can't talk about
nope,
that either.
Nope.
Nope,
Okay, thank you.
yep,
Yeah, they stop by.
All right.
okay.
Have a good night.
Night,
You
Dennis.
too, sir.
Stay out of the snow.
I know.
What's now?
Yeah,
School's canceled already, by the way, if anyone doesn't.
for real. Oh.
And yeah, Steve Height is here regarding the Sikowski subdivision. You had asked them to make sure that they had the road width finalized by the fire chief.
Yep.
And you have, this will be on your February 17th agenda for final approval.
Okay.
So if you would like information from the engineer, Mr. Height, he's more than happy to help.
Yeah, thank you for staying so long.
Again, Steve Height with Civil Works, representing Mike and Aaron Sikowski. We were here last year, you guys approved the plan, go talk to the fire chief and see what he was looking at for the road widths. So when we met with him, and I think that's what prompted probably the change in the ordinance that he's looking at right now, is he's asked to go to a 24-foot wide road, paved road. And so, you know, when we did this subdivision, it met your requirements, which was a 20-foot paved road with 3-foot shoulders, which is actually adequate to get a fire truck back and forth, but he was looking for paved sections. We don't have much say if that's what he's asking, you guys go along with that, then that's what the answer is, but, you know, we'd like to stay with what we had. But if not, what we had shown was what we talked to him about was, you know, by doing a 24-foot wide pavement, and I think part of that ordinance change that you guys are looking at, not to go with 3-foot gravel shoulders on top of that, because you'd have, you know, a tremendously wide section here. So what we typically do in most all roadways, 20-foot, 22-foot, and 24-foot, you have 1-foot gravel shoulders. And we're just showing, we're asking that if you're going to go with that, as opposed to leaving what it was, but if you're going to go with the 24, we just leave the same cross section of the roadway and have 24 feet of pavement and 1-foot gravel shoulders. So if you talk about another way, it's 20 feet of pavement with 2-foot paved shoulders with a gravel shoulder after that. But the cross section would stay the same. It's just you would just pave it 24 feet and leave a 1-foot gravel shoulder. That's more than typical everywhere else as well. Eric, we really would like to stay with the 20-foot paved with the 3-foot shoulders just because of the cost, because it's only 6 houses, but I'm not asking for any approvals on that. I'm just explaining what we had done. We had met with the fire chief, and that's, I think, what prompted his request to change your guys' ordinance. And the only thing I would suggest when you guys look at that ordinance is not to increase the width of the shoulders along with the pavement, because your section will be extremely wide, just atypical. So we are here on the 17th.
Yep.
You guys get the revised plans. That's really why I'm here, just to kind of introduce you what we're doing.
There's no change to the cul-de-sac size or?
No, as a matter of fact, you actually better, one of the exhibits you guys have is the fire truck movement around there. And by widening the pavement section, it goes, the inside radius gets a little bit smaller, which actually gives you better radius access.
Tighter turn,
right?
Having a little width. Yep.
I mean, it adds. It doesn't really add any impervious to this design, other than the fact that the gravel, gravel is essentially considered pervious for design purposes. We're given 24 feet of pavement. So, but really, nothing else is changing on that, and we just want to go with that.
Okay. So with the land use ordinance update, do we even talk about the,
It's not gonna affect him.
well, I know that, but I'm just saying, if we say we do make it 24, do we still have that 3 feet?
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't, okay.
Yeah, I just.
Okay,
make
I was
sure-
just making
yeah.
sure, that's all, I was
Yeah.
just, it didn't seem like it was, so I just wanted to make sure.
Tammy, is this a waiver request we have to ask for, or is this because the fire chief is going for it?
Nope.
It's just the
No, it's-
cross-section is the same.
Right, the cross-section is the same.
We're just adding-
And you're satisfying the fire chief who needs to give his approval for the subdivision. So it wouldn't be a waiver.
So, any other questions? I just want to make sure you guys understood what we did and why.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So things like that, Mike,
Yep.
fall under life safety.
Okay.
So they're covered,
Okay.
just to let you know.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
Thank
for
you.
public comment?
Have a good night.
Thank you, Steve. Just so you know, you haven't mentioned anything about the public hearing for the zoning ordinances.
Okay.
You might want to
So-
set it for the 17th.
Let's set it for the 17th. Yep. All right, so moving on is informational items.
Yes, I did attach something for you folks. Something I used to do with the other towns I worked with. I provided them with a breakdown for the year of when the planning board meetings are. And something new here in Berwick is that because you meet on Thursday evenings, based on your bylaws, when you have a 5 Thursday month, the second meeting is basically optional.
Right, which we've always done.
Yep.
We haven't taken that meeting, we haven't put that meeting down to say that we're going to have this meeting. We've had multiple meetings. We have meetings 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it would be the third meeting that you would, one of the meetings during that month, you may not have.
Those will be the asterisk ones?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we want to leave those as provisionals if we get stacked?
That's
That-
what you did in December.
Right.
You
I
took
think
a
that's
vote.
smart to have the option.
Yeah.
That if we get backlogged with stuff,
We're
we
busy.
can
We
put
got a lot of
we
stuff
can put in
coming
another
in.
meeting.
I agree with that.
I've even done back-to-back weeks, back-to-back Thursdays, just to
alleviate some of the
decrease the workload.
And just to let you know, you may need to.
Okay.
I'm
We-
trying not to do that right now, but I've got a couple of plans. Well, with there's the potential for someone that just left to be finalized next week. If I can get the findings of fact done, we'll also get that done next week. You'll have someone else that left their findings of facts for the next meeting. The more I can get cleared off your plate,
Yep.
I'm gonna try and do it as quick as I can. So, one of the months with 5 meetings, we might take and pull a 3-week planning board session.
Okay.
So we can get them cleared out, because I know, just in the questions that have been coming in, I've got 2 plans that have called and asked questions, but I've seen nothing yet.
Okay.
So I know they're probably working on it, and I know people are backed up as far as the engineering and the surveying world go. So if we can lighten the load a little bit,
Or just spread it out a little.
yeah.
Yep.
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 A
Seems more
question
reasonable.
on those additional meetings and stuff. I know it's sometimes hard to say when that might happen, but the more notice I have, I can
Yep.
adjust my work schedule to make sure I'm here
Yep.
to support.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know
and
you'll do
it's
that,
It's
but-
something that I've also got to work with whoever needs to come in,
Yeah.
and the board, and
Yeah.
even my schedule, Jen's schedule.
So maybe the first meeting we'll discuss, the first meeting of that month, we'll discuss it and then vote on it at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, or if I know ahead of time, Jerry, you'll be the first one I take and reached out to, would you,
Right.
type thing.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm pretty flexible, but right now, work is just,
yep.
Okay, anyone else have any informational items?
Nope.
No? Okay. Next is adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Good night.
That was hearty.
That was a good one, right?
That was a hearty
Bad business.
Thank you.